there's two big roads of practice and learning when we get away from, public education and stuff like that. And one is the path of meditation, contemplation, the kind of seeking of silence and stillness and that kind of thing, centering that way. The other is the path of the creative arts, and you mentioned clay. And so to be at the potter's wheel is utterly about centering. And in my feeble effort to try it, I quickly realized if I'm not centered in myself, I can't make that thing center properly, and I'm going to get this warped bowl kind of thing. So those are the two paths, and a practice. That's one way to look at it, the distinction of those two practices. And so just to say something about the creative, I'm going to have to do a whole session on it, because we're in a creation story. We're in the ongoing story of creation, but we're in the part of creation myth where things fall apart and recreation has to happen. And what that means mythologically is we are all being called to awaken to the way in which creativity moves through us. So, creative work is, it's the calling. It's the collective calling right now. We're like in a collective initiation. But because we're in the downside collapse part of the creation story, we're being called to awaken to our own creativity and figure out how to do it. And going back to getting the mythology book at 13, I was called to learn stories. I was called to live in the realm of stories, to be guided by stories. And I had to work my way to the point where I could hear the message coming from inside, which had been shut down by my education and other things, and then learn to see or hear the calling from the outside. And it's the path of the creative path is the primary path for me, the path of story and myth and music and songs and poetry. It's not everybody's path, but usually the distinction is between the meditative path and the creative arts path. And then for a lot of people, both happen. And then for most people, at different times of life, the practice might have to change. There was a period in my life where drumming was the essential thing for me to do. If I could drum, I could center. It was like being at the potter's wheel. I could find that beat. I could align the beat of my heart with the beat of the drum, and everything else would disappear, and I could center, and I could regather myself and go back to what at times was a crazy life. So whether it's through the arts, or, which by the way, we're always in service of the divine, the idea of art as an industry is a rather recent and confused idea. But whether it's through the arts and or through the meditative practices, a person finds we need a practice in order to center, in order to convince ourselves that we are centered, that we have a being. And when a person finds that practice, they get the message from the deep self, and they also can hear better the calling coming from outside as well. So, but right now, so everybody has creative energy because everybody is a child of creation. Creation's a really strange word. It means the entire process where everything gets made. And it also means the thing that's been made. So just because we're here, we are creations. And we are, because we're human, invited to participate in creation ongoing.